Good morning, this is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update for October 3rd around 8 a.m. Here is a close-up visible satellite of very powerful Hurricane Matthew traveling north at 75 degrees west, right on that line, and this system is going to be heading towards the gap between Haiti and Jamaica. It's going to get a little closer to Haiti. In fact, Haiti should get the right front quadrant, at least the west side of the Tiburon Peninsula, as this passes off to the north, and then eastern Cuba will get it a little bit later. I'll show you some detailed graphics. But the system is really well organized. It's been this way for days. It has some fluctuations with the eye disappearing and reappearing, but the overall shape of this system looks as good now as it ever has. And it's getting into a little bit warmer waters as well. So this will probably maintain, Category 4 status right up until landfall, strong 3 or Category 4 status. May even flirt with Category 5 at times. This is going to be a very, very, very powerful, dangerous hurricane moving into the Greater Antilles. Now, I always like to talk about model trends and best performing models and model ensembles. Here are all the European ensemble models. This was from 2 days ago, October 1st. And you can see that the majority of the models took it basically in the direction that it's going right now, with a slight little bend off to the west on the in the positions when the system gets in the Bahamas. You can see a few that curve off here, off to the west, but the majority of them were basically due north on that date, and there were a few stragglers out in here going over the central and western Cuba area, which these models, there's 50 ensemble members with the European model base, and there's always going to be about 10 or 15 stragglers out here that are going against the grain. But you look at the model consensus, and that's the pack right there. Now you compare this to today's ensemble model runs from the European, and there's quite a different story. You have more of a bending feature here towards the northwest after it passes Cuba, and again, there's a lot more models that are taking this towards Florida than there was in that particular run. Of course, it's 2 days later and it's a little further north, but there's more of a spread on this particular ensemble run with the European versus the other day. It was more like in this category, more in this range here of model spread, and now today it's more like this. So we need to pay very close attention to the European model over the next 24 to 36 hours. That's going to tell a lot about how much this is going to affect the United States. But down here you notice, though, that the consensus is pretty solid, and the closer you go out in time, the more tightly the models are clustered. But again, eastern Cuba here, and pretty much closer to the Tiburon Peninsula of Haiti, but very, very tightly clustered in here. So just very solid confidence that it's going to be somewhere in this range over the next couple of days. And then when it gets in the Bahamas, that's when things spread out quite a bit. So we need to keep a close eye on it. Again, here we were 2 days ago with the best performing trending models. In other words, as time goes by, these were the models that had lowering error rates. And you can see down here in the area of Jamaica was where the majority of the models that were the best performers at that time had it going into Jamaica. Only a few were over here. The European ensemble models had it going over towards the Tiburon Peninsula of Haiti. So the European best performers seem to have a better beat on this. And of course, this is probably not going to pan out over here in Jamaica. And then up in here, again, they were primarily in this area right here, best performers. And again, the European models kind of shoot it out to sea. Some of the other ones, like the TAB models, keep it closer to Florida. And taking a look at today's lowering error rates on all the models, the European ensemble members, at least the same 10 to 15 that are usually rogue, are over here in Florida. And again, I'm not really buying that scenario, although it's possible we have to keep an eye on the trends of the European model because it is the best, in my opinion, of all the models out there. And here's the aviation with the GFS up in here. So again, it's a little bit of a wider spread today than it was 2 days ago on the future course of this, and this is why everybody needs to pay very close attention to this in the United States. But the majority of the global models, in fact, all the global models that I've run, basically take it close to the U.S. and take it on out. So we're going to have to watch to see if that trend gets closer to the United States. But all eyes right now, the models are very tightly clustered over eastern Cuba and very tip of Haiti over here, and that's, I believe, where this is going to travel over the next 24 to 36 hours. Looking at the National Hurricane Center official cone of error embedded on top of the sea surface temperature map, you can see that the temperatures where Matthew is right now are warm. They're right around 80, low 80s. In fact, actually, Matthew has churned up some of that water down there, and some of these temperatures are right around 78 degrees, right where Matthew is right now, which is sustainable for a hurricane. But as it gets up in some of these areas up in here, these are warmer sea surface temperatures, probably in the 86, 87 degree range. So it's got plenty of piping hot water to deal with. The problem is the land masses. This is a very tiny core of the system, and when it interacts with some of these mountains here in eastern Cuba, there might be some degradation of the core of this hurricane. And we've seen this time and time again where these systems come in, like for example, Ike came in this kind of a track and tangled with Cuba, just never recovered, was able to regain strength at all as it headed into Texas. These systems, when they travel through the Greater Antilles, they have a really hard time recovering, and I think that's why the National Hurricane Center isn't really ramping this up significantly in this area here. They keep it as a major hurricane, but again, it depends on how well that inner core survives the track over these Greater Antilles mountains down here. Some of these areas that are going to be impacted by Hurricane Matthew haven't seen a hurricane in quite a few years. In fact, 2010, we had Tomas to attract something similar to this for Haiti. We had Sandy, eastern Cuba. We had Hurricane Irene affect Great Anagua here in 2011. And then last year we had Joaquin, major hurricane, affect the central Bahamas. And then we had Sandy in a few of these areas up in here. And look here at Andros Island, 12 years since the last hurricane impacts. That was 2004 as Francis passed off to the north as a brush. And then, in fact, the last direct hit on Andros was all the way back in 2001. Michelle came up like this. So it's been quite a few years since a lot of these areas have been impacted. But this is going to be a very dangerous situation for rainfall in the Haiti area in here. And that's where my main concern is. The GIS maps on the front page of HurricaneCity.com allow you to zoom in right to ground level, and you can get a lot of statistical information such as population. And we have about 1.5 million people on the Tiburon Peninsula of Haiti that are going to be impacted by hurricane force winds. But that's not going to be the big story. The big story is going to be all the rainfall over Haiti over here. I think that's going to end up being the huge story. We've seen this time and time again where you have hurricanes coming in, well north of here, like this, or well to the south, or well to the east or the west of Haiti, dumping tons of rain in the area. And with the deforestation, a lot of the mountains in Haiti have been stripped. You have mudslides, you have river banks overflowing their banks and dragging people into the water. It's just a horrific situation when they get large amounts of rain in Haiti. So I think that's where we're going to see the most impacts from Matthew, is in this entire country, as there are 1,500 shelters open, which is a good thing. And I'm hoping that the people in Haiti have prepared with sandbags or whatever they have to do to protect whatever they have, because this is going to be a lot of rainfall for this country coming in here on the right front quadrant of this hurricane. But if you want to look at the actual wind field, that's a different story. I think the really high, intense core winds are going to be right over the western tip of the Tiburon Peninsula and over the very east tip of Cuba, near Baracoa, Cuba, is where the worst impacts are going to be felt as far as winds are concerned. Jamaica over here, I have a lesser concern. I think we're going to have northerly winds coming in here. There's going to be a lot of rain in Kingston, Jamaica. They also can flood. So it's not, Jamaica's not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, and this system will be dumping a lot of rain in this entire area. But I think the focus is going to be on Haiti and eastern Cuba as this moves off to the north. And then, of course, you have The best performer here, right down the center, the European model. Look at that, right down the center of the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. And these are the best 5 performers over the past 24 hours on the front page of Hurricane City. But these models will shift left and right over the next 24 hours. But usually the best performers are within the cone of error from the National Hurricane Center, and that's no mistake. But overall, we're talking about just 1.5 million down here in Haiti, 600,000 in within this cone area, 600,000 people in eastern Cuba. You have 900 in Greater Antilles. So overall, we're talking, if you want to include Haiti over in here, we're talking, up to, in the high 7, 8, 9 million people could be affected by this hurricane in this general region out in here. And we could see really high death tolls from this, from rainfall. That's my biggest concern. And while I have this map open, I wanted to show you the current feature at Hurricane City, which is Port Salut, Haiti. There's a little peninsula that juts out down here in the southwestern Tiburon Peninsula. And it has a population of about 1,900 people. It's a little shipping port down here. But this area is primarily for tourism over here on the very western beaches of the peninsula. So it's not like a high shipping industrial area. That would be areas further over here to the east. And the main population centers are in this general region over in here. So that's where we're going to be watching for the heavy rainfall. While I have this map open, I also wanted to show you, by the way, when you click on the featured city at Hurricane City, which would be up in the above this map on the front page of Hurricane City. There's a link there to get all the local radars and radio feeds and cams. There is no live webcams in Haiti. I think there's one from Port-au-Prince, but it only updates like once a day or something, so we're not going to really be able to see what's happening there. The same goes for East Cuba over here, which, by the way, when East Cuba gets hit tomorrow, that would be Tuesday rather. That would be the current feature would be Barracoa, which would be right in here, and then we'd be featuring probably Greater Antilles Island, which, by the way, that's a big salt producer up in here. The Morton Salt Factory company, I believe, is based in Greater Antilles, and they create a bunch of salt for products all over the world. That's a big industry down there in Greater Antilles that could be affected by this. Looking at our two most reliable global models side by side, you can see the GFS over here on the left. This is going into next weekend, very close. Here is the coastline. It has it just offshore of North Carolina Outer Banks, heading in this general direction. And then here is the European model over here, and again, doing the same thing, beginning to make the turn to the northeast. So this is going to be a very close call next weekend for the United States. A lot of time to watch this. The models are going to shift a lot over the next couple of days. We'll have a much better idea in 48 hours where this is going to go for the U.S. But right now, all eyes are on the Greater Antilles, Haiti, and East Cuba. As we take one final look at a visible satellite image of Hurricane Matthew, can't emphasize enough, if you feel like you live in an area that's vulnerable to flooding or mudslides, you might want to get out of the area, head to an evacuation shelter. Rainfall is going to be the big story with this. Again, that core wind field is very small, so all residents in Haiti, East Jamaica, East Cuba, be prepared for very heavy rainfall. Stay away from the coastal areas. Wish everybody the best of luck. This will be the final update until landfall in the Greater Antilles, and then we'll do another update video probably on Wednesday when we have a much clearer idea of how much this is going to impact the United States. That's it for now. I'm Jim Williams. Thank you for watching.